We are back in the room. Look at that awesome, amazing person over there,
Oh,
Rick
too
Novak.
kind, too kind.
Man, we came out here with a goal, and I think we accomplished that goal. It
Every
wasn't the uh, grand goal of winning, but we did want to do one thing. What was that?
Shut all you kids up who are online talking about how does Blizzard Dragon Turbo keep winning all the Chicago monthlies. Chicago is
Whoa, whoa, all
free.
right, all right, calm down, calm down. It's
Chicago,
this.
Chicago is trash. You guys are garbage, overrated. Well, we just took home 2 of the 3 prize cards, so
Yeah, two in the top. So
yeah, two out of the top
all I gotta
8.
say is we're pretty nice out here. Chicago's the best. Uh, man, we are out there. So, how are you feeling, Rick? Man, third place.
I feel good. I mean, it was 466 people. Cut to top 8. I mean, yeah, it was a grind. 9 rounds of the first day, and then cut to the top 8 the next day. I'm really happy. Obviously, you play the third, fourth match in this tournament. It's like whether walk away with just a med or get a couple $100 for the card potentially. It's a couple $100 card. So. Yeah, I got the win against GBs, which is a really scary matchup because that deck is just kind of like either they have the raw power to beat you or they don't. So there's really, in certain situations, there's not much you can do against them. And I was able to get the win, and it was very satisfying. It was my third top. I got a second top in a row because I just topped Indy. So overall, I can't say I'm not happy with the results, and glad I came. Glad I got through all the flight
Yeah.
difficulties on Friday
Oh
morning.
man, you wanted to talk a little bit about that really quick?
Yeah, I mean, I had a flight. So yeah, well, first of all, I booked my flight originally like a week ago because I wasn't even set on coming here, and then so all the flights out of Chicago were really expensive. Um, so I ended up getting a real cheap flight from Allegiant Airlines out of Indy. So I drove down to Indy Thursday night, stayed at my boy's house. He drove me to the airport the next morning, and then we get to the airport and it's like complete chaos as soon as he drops me off, and I'm like, okay, clearly something is wrong. And then obviously you all know, I'm sure there was some sort of update bug or something clearly went wrong with the servers, crashed like all the airlines basically. So yeah, my flight gets canceled. I'm wondering what I'm gonna do because I'm in Indy.
You were almost gonna like cancel and not even
Yeah, I
come.
was almost just not gonna come because I was like, man, I don't really want to cough up additional money, and I was also like, man, should I just try to drive down there? But it was gonna be 15 hours. So I was like, 15 hours in a car by yourself, that's a little dicey for sure, especially towards the end. So I was like, all right, man, I'm just gonna, thankfully the Indianapolis airport had one more flight to Austin that day. It was Southwest, and Southwest was the only airline going. So just kind of quickly pivoted to that. I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a one-way ticket there, and just gonna cough up the money, bite the bullets. I'm already here basically, and I was glad to come just to hang out with the boys and have a lot of fun. It's always great to be with the guys. We have such a great community up in Chicago, and we have so much fun together. But obviously, then coming here and doing well, getting the top, it was nice. I feel like every time I have something bad happen to me, I got something good happening to me like right after, man. And it's I feel very lucky. Obviously to top a tournament like this, you got to get really lucky. I mean, we've talked about that before. Um, all the skill, all the preparation can only take you so far. It really depends on how you draw, how your opponent draws, how your opponent plays. Sometimes I mean sometimes your opponent just punts the game away, and in a tournament like this where you have to have one loss to top, sometimes you're going to need some help. It doesn't matter how well you play, sometimes you need your opponent to help you out a bit. So I feel very lucky. But again, also I feel like, this is now my third top, second in a row. So I
Yep.
have not to stroke my own ego, but
Yeah,
it's not
this
just
guy's
luck.
really good. This
It's
guy's really
yeah,
cool.
no,
Rick Novak, remember the name.
it's like I think now the community is getting such that there is kind of like an upper echelon of players that are kind of carving themselves out. Especially, I mean, online is different. I don't really play online, but in person, there's clearly like like I said, an upper echelon of guys kind of kind of carving out their niche and I do feel like I belong kind of maybe not on the top tier, but close to that. And I do feel like I rub shoulders with those guys, and it's cool, And the
Yeah.
NSC community is real cool, man. A lot of real good guys, and
I
it's a
get
lot of
that.
fun,
I get that when you said it right there. It's like even like obviously you got like the Fraser Smiths, like for
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
example,
gonna
and
sit
like
here and say I'm on
yeah,
Fraser's level or
no,
anything
but
like
like
that, but
if you get paired up against him, you can win.
well, it's like I know it's like Fraser likes to talk Yu-Gi-Oh with me, I think, or he humors me when I talk Yu-Gi-Oh to him. So I feel like maybe I can't be that bad, right? So um, yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool to come out here, see all the guys. I'm starting to see guys I've seen at previous ones, guys I've played at other ones, and the community's really growing, and it feels like it's like I mean, almost 500 people here this weekend, and that's with all the flight foolishness going on. So who knows how many of it could have been, maybe an extra 20 or so people even. So yeah, I mean, it was a really good event. And I think, Edison, it's just, yeah, it feels like we've almost just scratched the surface on how big it could take, we could take it, in terms of this community. And it's really exciting time, because it feels like we're still kind of in that super early kind of seed germination kind of phase, but you can see where it's going. I mean, and you can see how nationals last year was like 250, and now it just got 200 people. I think we talked about this was like the biggest Edison tournament since Edison, the actual YC or SJC Edison. So it just keeps getting bigger, and I think this event maybe really kind of brought Konami into like a reckoning with this format in terms of you can't just treat the Ultimate Time Wizards as just some side event. Really, they're really their own separate event. I think obviously the whole top 8 versus top 16 thing has been discussed this weekend substantially, and clearly I think in a tournament with almost 500 people, you got to go top 16. I think it's.
I'm not sure if you. I mean, we have to work out the numbers, but we got to make sure like something along the lines where all X2s make it. So I'm not sure if that comes down to top 16 or top 32.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be
but
top 32. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I think it should be top 32 to be honest, because I do.
But like the thing is, we don't want to create situations where, like, let's say for example, like, so we got like some people that are X2 that make it, and other people that are also X2 who don't make it, where they have the same record as people who did make it.
I mean, yeah,
It's kind of like how today were, or like this tournament where it worked out perfectly, where everyone who was X1 or better made it.
I mean,
and no one that was like anything worse didn't. So.
Yeah, I mean, you are right in that way. The one thing I would say about that is, X 8-1 is 8-1 no matter when you lose, in my opinion. 7-2 can be a little different, the guys who start 2-2 and then win 5 straight. I mean, that's nice to win 5 straight, but like to me, I think tiebreakers are a real thing, and I don't want to kind of water down top too much. That's why 32 to me seems maybe a little too much even still. I think 16 would have been probably correct.
Yeah. I mean, if 16 works out with the correct number, maybe it could be like top 16 with an extra round. So that way, like I said, like all X2s will still make it.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be less X1s.
Yeah.
But at that point, at least like we dwindle down on the number of X2s.
Yeah, there's definitely could be that. I think obviously they need to, increase the number of people that top no matter what. I think top 8 in a 460 something person tournament, it's like
it's really hard.
It's less than 2% of the people that enter get top.
Yeah.
I mean it's really hard. You have to go X1. I mean the guys who went X1-1 didn't get in. There's 2 guys who went 7-1-1 and they got 9th and 10th. I mean that's a tough pill to swallow. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't think those guys weren't good enough to top, to be honest, because you go 7-1-1 in a tough tournament like that, you would hope that that'd be good enough to get you there. But so I do think they need to expand top. I mean obviously I think prize support in Yu-Gi-Oh in general has been kind of a hot button issue in the past few months, and obviously I think everybody wants better prize support in any game they play really, but I mean it is tough. I felt bad for the dude I played in the 3rd, 4th. You go 9-3 in the tournament or whatever, 10-2, and you come away with just a mat basically. That's tough. I think they need to maybe at least make a different mat for top for Ultimate Time Wizard, as opposed to just the hamster mats that they give out for the flights. I think it is. I don't think it's really right that the guys who got top in this tournament that didn't get first through third only got a hamster mat, and they got the same hamster mat that the kids who won the flights got. I mean, is that really people talk about fairness, but I mean, come on, is that really fair? A lot of people like to roll their eyes about fairness and stuff, but like, it's obviously not. I think everybody who looks at that knows that that's not really how it should be. So I mean, clearly they need to maybe do something different, or in terms of the player base thinks they need to do something different. And I think it'd be really nice
because they're gonna do what they want to do.
Yeah, obviously Konami, they can run their business how they see fit. I mean, that's their prerogative, and clearly the lack of prize support isn't deterring people from coming and playing these.
Yeah.
So I mean, there is that. So maybe they don't have much of an incentive to change it, but as a player, I mean, I think you definitely would wish for a little bit more. Like I said, at least some sort of exclusive mat for the tops of these guys, as opposed to the mat that they're there was over 150 Edison side events done this weekend. So they gave out 150 hamster mats on those. I mean, I think it's hard for me to sit here and say that they couldn't do something maybe a little bit better there. So that's a whole thing. Like I said, then and obviously that goes even more so for the guys who are playing in the main event. Because that's 2,000 plus people for most of these, and it's a complete grind. And those guys, to play modern Yu-Gi-Oh now, it's like a whole job basically, in terms of the amount of effort that you need to put into it weekly to be one of the elite players. So I definitely think, like I said, this has been a hot button issue. I think everybody who is involved in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh in one way or another knows what I'm talking about, So I do think they need to up prize support, especially, like I said, I think, I'm hoping that going forward that this will lead to some sort of reevaluation on Konami's part. I mean, a lot of guys were saying that they had heard that Konami's going to be redoing the policy here in the off season. Whether that's true or not, or people just making stuff up, kind of wishful thinking, I don't know. But I definitely think that it's something needs to change, to be complete, to be blunt about it. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything like that, but I think all the players, I think, are kind of in agreement on this. And I don't think we're asking for too much either, to be honest. What I'm saying? I'm not saying that there needs to be thousands of dollars given out to every guy in top or anything like that, but just like I said, just do like at least a exclusive mat for top or something like that, right? I mean, I think that's not too much to ask, but yeah, but overall, it's Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of a game that's just played for the recognition of your peers almost. That's kind of no matter what people want to say, you played for your own kind of self, fulfillment, but also kind of the recognition you get from other players by, being labeled as one of those top guys. That's kind of what everybody strives for in this game, right? So, I mean, obviously there's, immaterial benefits to winning at Yu-Gi-Oh that can't be maybe quantified, but, it would be nice if there were, maybe better material prizes as well, so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with that turnaround.
For sure.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, third place for Rick, second place right here, redeeming Chicago.
The most cracked hotel room at this Nationals, bro. That's just what it is. I mean, not to brag.
Maybe advanced format got some.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm talking about Edison.
Edison,
I'm sure there's some advanced guys that are pretty insane. So I'm not going to step on their toes. But for Edison, I feel like we have a solid claim to that, at least for this weekend, right?
Mm-hmm. Came here with a goal to redeem Chicago. Not really that it needed redeeming, but like I said, it's just the Yappers online.
I was gonna say
Yappers online.
I think
like,
we knew. I think all the dudes from Chicago knew. I just think that we had to come here and prove to everybody else that it's we're not free. I mean, exactly. Chicago's really strong.
Yeah, and we wouldn't really do as good if it wasn't for like our community either. Like we literally like lift ourselves up.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think, you
We
know,
lift each other up.
for sure, for sure. I mean, I think,
Like, believe it or not, when we play, like, this is the first time I beat Rick in forever. Like, we play
I
out
think
so
ever.
much in.
I think ever.
It might be ever,
I think
yeah.
ever, but you know, hey, and he beat me for the highest stakes we ever played for. So
Yeah,
you know, I
that's
mean,
true.
that's a great. You know,
But he was
and
playing a different deck too, and I knew that matchup better. So
potentially, yeah. You know, I think you know, we talked about this with all the Edison guys and other players. You know, we play at Emporium TCG up in Chicago, and we get 25 to 30 person locals every week, 2 times a week. You know, and I think really that's probably the biggest advantage that Chicago has right now is the fact that we get consistent.
Sorry,
Oh, good.
it cut off. Oh no! They say we're getting consistent.
We get
play.
consistent in-person play every week with good players, and even the kids that just, the guys that just started have just improved so much, and it's like you said, we lift each other up. The rising tide lifts all boats, so to speak. I really, because a lot of the guys I played with this weekend, they were telling me, oh, we don't have a local. We have 5 to 10 guys that play.
I heard that so much.
Yeah,
like,
no,
people
no, I think
like don't have that much of a local. They only play online.
Yeah,
and I mean, you do got to take advantage of your resources too. I mean, there's plenty of good players online.
Like, yeah, but online, online
it's not
is
the same thing.
Of course, online is different than in person, and
that
was also another maybe big point of contention this weekend: the online versus but that's online versus in person has always been kind of a debate in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really surprise me. But as now as people play more online, it's gotten even bigger. So, I really do think though, like our biggest advantage in Chicago is just having a very solid local with a lot of good players twice a week. I think that gives us a huge advantage on the competition and probably explains a lot of the success that basically every guy that goes to our locals has had. Oh, there we go. All right, we're back.
We are back. But yeah, I mean, I know you're saying that, I mean, a lot of the players have been coming up and due to just like everyone being so freaking cracked.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we got so many good players. If you go there and you just start playing Edison, you're playing like everybody playing is good. I mean, you're going to start picking up, and you're watching the guys playing who are good. You're going to start picking it up real fast. I think we've seen that. And, like we said, I think Emporium really having that local that is so strong has built such a really rock solid community in the past year. And now we go and we test together. We have, everybody we test with is really good. It's like, once you get that going, it's really tough. So I would say,
I didn't even mention, like, we had a test session last weekend at our friend's Marcus's house.
A YCS champion.
Champion, Marcus
right there.
Hayden, so.
I mean, and then me and him were there. Marcus is there. Chai T is there. Sizzle's there. I mean, all the guys that are there are good.
It's kind of funny because I just showed up for the hangs, and I didn't even play test.
It's like
I did my play testing before that for RBT and LA, and I just used that and like prediction and like what the meta was doing to make little tweaks on the deck, but essentially I was playing the same deck, right? So
right, yeah.
I didn't need to like figure anything out.
And for me, it's like I was
he needed to learn.
Exactly. I've been on Hero Beat for like a year basically, and I was like, okay, I want to play Value now, and it really helps when you got guys. You got somebody
the
like
best Value Turbo in Edison right now, Eric.
Exactly. I have Eric basically like coaching me almost, and I feel pretty confident in my skills, so I know kind of when he's telling me I'm doing the right stuff that I must really be doing the right stuff too,
Builds belief.
Yeah, so I would say any guy, if you want to get better at Edison, if you got to help build a community in your area, I would say that'd be like the number one thing I would suggest you. And I know that's tough, I think it's easy for us to say because we live in a big city, I mean, that definitely gives us an advantage. But then I got guys, I played a kid from New York this weekend, he's saying, there's not really a local out there, or it gets little people,
Yeah.
And I think trying to build that community is tough.
It's really tough.
It's really tough. You gotta.
Yeah, for us, like I remember like going to, like it's been like 2 years we've been trying to build a community, and I was always there. Like if you want to be community to grow in your area, always be there. Even if it's just 3 players, even if it's just 4 players, continue to go there. because some people are gonna show up some weeks, some people are not gonna show up other weeks. But if they always see you there, they know there's always gonna be at least one person there. Exactly. And then eventually there'll be 2 people there, 3 people there that are always there every single week. And like that's how it got to us. Like now we have rolling in between like anywhere between like 14 to 25, almost 30 players.
Yeah,
30 players.
14 honestly. Local, yeah, 14
for an Edison local. I was happy when we
that's
started
like
getting
really
like,
small. I'd say at this point, like most of the time, our smallest number is like 20 or so now. You know,
but like I was happy like when we started getting like 12, 14 players. I'm like, man, we're starting to pick up some steam.
No, yeah, so that I would say for guys who are trying to build a community, obviously show up first, and then I would say the best way to get guys to get play is like tap into the guys who play current. There's a lot of guys, I think, I know that there was controversy over the set they dropped on Friday or whatever, and how expensive it was, and they're dropping, tier 1 decks, the day before nationals and stuff, and high rarity and stuff. So the nice thing about Edison is all the cards have basically been reprinted, except for a few that are admittedly overly expensive. Yes, that'd be number one. But most of the time you can get everything you need in a common. You can build a deck for $100 if that, and it's not, the format's never changing. You can play with that thing as long as people want to play Edison, and I think that's a big appeal for guys who want to play this. The cost is minimal, and also you don't have to put as much work into this. Like all the top guys in Yu-Gi-Oh, man, this is basically their job, because that's how much hours you need to put in order to be one of those top guys. In advanced format. Yes, exactly. Edison, most of the guys in Edison,
we have lives outside of
Well, yeah, I don't want to be that harsh, but that's the truth.
But like our is like definitely are like nowhere close to the top of our priority.
Exactly. No, yeah, and it's
actually it might be like up there,
but it's not.
It has been for me for the last couple of months. Like
for sure,
it's been paying off. So
no, yeah, I'm not gonna say it's a hobby, but it's a hobby I take seriously. But it's still a hobby. I feel like if you want to play advanced, it goes beyond hobby to kind of like that job level. If you want to take it as far as you could take it in advanced, at the highest level. If you're content kind of playing for fun in advanced, I would say, well, you probably have more fun playing Edison, to be honest, and if you don't want to put in that much work. A lot of guys I've talked to at these Ultimate Time Wizards have said, I started playing Edison because I just couldn't devote enough time to be good in Modern, because a lot, you want to, everybody plays this game is, I think, competitive to some degree, and you want to put your best foot forward, and it's hard to do that in Modern if you don't have, the time to devote to Modern to be the best at it. So Edison, especially if you played back then, it's kind of like riding a bike in a way, if you have that kind of set, very sound Yu-Gi-Oh fundamentals to you, I think you can really, excel at this format with even minimal, hours per week. I don't play online. I mean, obviously I have a dueling book, and I have been on the ladder and stuff like that. I'm not gonna say I never play online, but I'm not one of these guys that's just playing online as soon as he gets home from work for hours upon hours. I'll play a couple matches a night, once or twice a week, if that. The past month or so I've been playing, I haven't played online at all. So it is a format in a way that you don't have to put that much time into it.
You just have to learn it once. And yes, there will be changes here and there.
Yeah, new decks show up. New tech.
New text, new flavor of the months. Right.
Mm-hmm. So, you gotta keep keep up to date with it for sure. Yes,
probably before the tournament, talk to the people who are really paying attention and just seeing hey, what's going on.
You want to keep. One thing I'll do. I might not be playing, but I'll be I always try to keep up with new deck lists that do well at tournaments and stuff. I think that's big. I think the side deck in Edison is very important. The main decks, most of the main decks are relatively solved, I think. Obviously there's room for tech to varying degrees in each deck, basically. Depending on how big the core of the deck is, you get room for more cards in certain decks than others, but it's really the side deck is what you got to really be, on your toes about, because the format is it's such a diverse format.
Yep.
You really, every event is different in terms of the breakdown of the decks. It is, you get certain regions like certain decks more than others, etc., and that's why you really got. That's why I'm saying the side deck is really, really important. So I think you do have to keep up with trends of what people are playing, the text people are bringing in. But other than that, you know,
yeah, for the most part, you just gotta learn it once. Get
Yeah.
your fundamentals down and just adjust. A little bit
exactly.
here and there.
You know, and it's you know, Edison isn't overly complicated. I see sometimes I watch Modern, I'm like I'm very impressed because the top guys in Modern are you know, highly intelligent. You know, they put a lot of hours in, and you know it's really tough to be one of the top guys in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, Modern Yu-Gi-Oh, I think, you know, among the guys who play like all the TCGs is considered the hardest and most skill intensive. You know, and Edison is still very skill intensive, but I don't think it's, you know, skill intensive to the point where you need to put in, you know, as much hours as someone would take for a full-time job per week to be the best at it, you know.
And even still, like, I don't know if putting those extra hours gives you a significant advantage over someone that just tests as much as like we do. You know?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
we
no.
test a decent amounts, but not like it's like crazy.
I
amounts
mean,
of
most of our
those
testing, I think,
testing
is
amounts, yeah.
at our locals weekly, you know,
Yeah.
and
4 rounds, 4 to 8 rounds a week, depending if you show up once or twice.
yeah,
And then maybe like a place test session, like once or twice a month.
yeah, you know, and I think, you know, also if you want to get, you know, if we're talking about getting better at Edison, you know, I think building the community, because building the community lets you play in person.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one thing that I could kind of like sneak into this video really quick is like how I did my preparation is like I looked at like the matchups I was like struggling with, asked one of my local players to like, hey, let's meet up, I want to play test the matchup,
Against this
and like
guy,
try to
yeah.
figure out like what am I doing wrong, is there anything I could change. For me specifically, I always try to solve it with like the side deck and side deck patterns, or like maybe changing something in the main deck that will help out, and like that's honestly what has helped me with my success in the last couple weeks.
No, yeah, I mean, I think that's an exact, you know, a pretty concise, you know,
Yeah.
distillation of how you want to do this, you know. It's not, you know, I think what we're saying here is, you know, we're not rocket scientists, you know. What I'm saying, like, we want to tell everybody here, like, you can get to this level, you know. It's not like we
Trust
got
me,
some
if
sort
I
of
got like
secret.
me could win an RBT and get
Yeah,
second
right.
place at the Nationals,
Yeah.
you can too.
You know, and we're not trying to like flex that we're like some gods or
No,
anything like
hell
that. That's
no.
actually the opposite of what I'm trying to say.
No.
Like, we're just like regular dudes. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, we're not, you know, trust me, the guys, and that's why I like Edison. You know, it's like regular Joes. You know, it's not the guys who can just
We are Yu-Gi boomers. Dude.
yeah, the Yu-Gi-Oh boomers. You know what I'm saying?
And then I mean, it's cool that there's like some younger people like picking it up too.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I always like to see the modern guys come and play, but I'm not gonna lie. I always root for the guys, the OGs, you know, when they play, and it seems like the OGs are some of the better players too, to be honest. So, you know, you know, that's like the one thing. Modern and, you know, kind of retro Yu-Gi-Oh, there is a different kind of. They are different, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in terms of how long the games go.
It almost feels like a different game. It's
Yeah.
just we just share the same name.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, really. That's a good way to put it. You know, in terms of, I think, you know, when modern guys come back, you know, I think sometimes they want to build decks like they're playing modern, you know, and that can, you know, it's not, you know, you want to play traps, you know, that's kind of one thing, you know, and stuff. And I mean, obviously not every deck, but generally speaking, traps are good in Edison. You know, I think a lot of modern guys, you know, it takes them a second to realize, you know, that maybe specifically, or, you know, not attacking into things, you know, being able to set things up, you know, playing with knowing that your opponent is going to get more draws in this game, and you know, because they're going to get more draws, maybe I need to do something now a little bit different than just what the game state in and of itself looks like.
Speaking of draws, going with that Patrick Colvin mentality and just throwing 3 upstarts in every single deck.
Yeah, I mean,
which can be good in some circumstances. But I mean, personally, I've found like anything more than 2 is too much unless I'm playing a deck like Dragon Turbo, which could actually OTK through 11K.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, obviously the upstart Yada debate, I think, is the jury's still out. I think, you know, in my opinion, I think it depends on the deck. I think obviously Yada is very strong in certain decks, and obviously in other decks, upstart. You
That's
know,
just going to like the point that
like
thinking everything like
there's no
making everything the highest like advanced format as possible is not necessarily like correct. I mean, I'm still trying to implement that in like my deck building, and like that's kind of like I think gave me like my edge in like at LA and this weekend
Mhm.
is just having like that little bit of like advanced format like mindset where like, hey, it might be okay to like play an extra brick so I could like. I remember hearing a while ago like you play more bricks in your deck so that way you brick less in the long term. I guess I don't know if that makes sense. Like brick more to brick less. I think is what they were saying.
I see what you mean in terms of I mean there's
Yeah.
usually when you add bricks it's like in Diva Hero Beat.
You know, you play the second Gilman.
Yeah, it's like you play the second Gilman because yes you might draw it more, but the games you don't draw it and you draw a Diva twice, it feels a lot better. There's that definitely I understand
more, brick more to brick less.
Yes, I do know what you mean by that. It sounds
weird.
It sounds wonky when you say it, but when you
that
actually
like
apply it
to one of those advanced format things that was going around. I think maybe like 8 years ago at this point, so it was a while ago. But
I mean, there's definitely some.
But then there's like other like I said, like other things where it would be incorrect to just play like 3 Diva, 1 Gilman.
Yeah.
When in an advanced format, you would do something like that. You play 3 of one card to search your one good card of part of the engine, right? So
yeah, right. It's like because in advanced, you can play just one brick of something because the game's not going to go that long.
Like you just need your one starter.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
The extra cards, like a lot of times, like they're like card effects that are like discard this to do this other thing, and you don't care what that card you discarded was because it's a brick anyway.
No, yeah, it's in Edison. Like I said before, like about and games don't generally draw to a close within the first 3 to 4 turns like they do in Modern. I mean, and when you have that, when you're going to be drawing cards, your opponent's going to be drawing cards, it adds a certain level of variance to it that maybe you don't get in Modern. Maybe so there's different. The feel of the game is a little bit different, maybe that's why, the guys who played back then are at a little bit of an advantage because they kind of, are used to that feel and playing within that feel, and I think that does, because I know when I came back, I stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2013 and then I came back in 2017 with Zodiac. It definitely took me a second to kind of readjust I shouldn't say readjust, just to adjust to Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it is so much different. Basically, Modern Yu-Gi-Oh!
There's definitely a huge learning curve.
Yeah, I mean, in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! The first 2 turns, really, like turn 1 is like the most important turn.
That is literally.
I mean, in Edison, turn 1 is generally never the most important. I mean, it's very important. I mean, getting the setup, but just because you don't have the perfect turn 1 setup in Edison doesn't mean that you basically lost the duel automatically. And in Modern, sometimes there is that.
I feel like recently, like I've learned how to just win no matter what the die roll outcome is. Like, like I've been losing most of my die rolls. I think at LA, I maybe only won like a handful, like maybe 1 or 2. And this weekend, I did win, I think, our die roll.
Yes, I believe.
And then my top 16 die roll as well.
Yeah.
So those are pretty good. But like for the rest of the tournament, I think I only won like 1 or 2 die rolls.
Yeah, I think.
And like one of them was round 1 and I lost round 1. So
right.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think it's not.
But like my wins, like most of them, I lost my die rolls. So like,
I mean, I think it's
like that just kind of like.
I mean,
like knowing that I could win by losing the die roll, like now I don't care what the die roll outcome is.
Yeah, it's not. I think that obviously the die roll is important.
Yeah.
You want to go first, but it's not the end of the world if you go second, right? I mean,
exactly.
that's for sure.
That's the point we're trying to get at with that right now. Is like in an advanced format, is like going first. Is so important. It's ridiculously important.
I would say, I mean, maybe there's gonna be, I'm not gonna say I'm a complete expert on advanced at this point because I haven't played advanced in a couple years now, so I'm obviously kind of checked out of that, but I would say, generally speaking, it seems like, going first in advance. I mean, it's so broken going first in advance now. You can't draw a 6 card to go first, and people still go first. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. And Edison, it's certain. Obviously in the third, fourth matchup, I played GBs, and he won the die roll, and I was like, oh boy, this. And then when he summoned a guy and set 4 back rows to start, I was like, okay, this isn't going exactly how I wanted to, but I ended up wrestling that game away, and grinding him out and winning, and then, end up winning the match in game 3. So, it is such that because the games go longer, you see more cards, you can recover from a bad start, That's one big thing, one big difference from modern to Edison, or really most retro formats. That you can recover from a slow start. You can pull yourself back into a game. In modern, if your opponent goes first, gets their board set up, and they just know the choke point of your combo, the game is probably going to be over by turn 3. Right? So there's definitely something to be said about Edison and just kind of the back and forth nature of it. It's hard to really completely blow someone out. Obviously you see it. There's certain decks that are better at just completely blowing people out than others. But generally speaking, most of the matches are back and forth. I had some barn burners of matches this weekend, some absolute barn burners that, I lost one, I won a couple others, so I definitely think that, it's fun to play those kind of games, right? It's fun when you've got a game that is going, the match goes 40 minutes. Obviously you don't want to play into time, but, that to me is always the Yu-Gi-Oh! I love playing. The Yu-Gi-Oh! I remember growing up with as a kid, and always the Yu-Gi-Oh! That kind of appealed to me. So, obviously for guys who, used to play back then, I would say, if you haven't started Edison yet, started, I would be shocked at this point, because it seems like everybody who's like a Yugi boomer plays Edison at this point. But I would say, guys who maybe didn't play back then, or maybe getting a little disillusioned with modern, man, I think Edison is a great format to pick up. You can get that enjoyment of playing. You don't have to have it be your full-time job. I know we've harped on that factor, but I do think that is one of the biggest appeals, and I know it is because a lot of guys tell me that, right? And I know from my own personal experience, and you would say the same thing, that you don't have to put in an insane amount of hours to be one of the better players. You just have to have a good kind of knowledge base, good fundamentals, and a little bit of luck, and good deck building and such. So yeah, I think if you're a modern guy, and you want to try something a little new, I would say give Edison a shot.
Just looking to come back into the game.
Man. If you're, there's a lot of guys I've seen come back into the game, that used to play back then, and they've fallen back in love with Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's honestly a beautiful thing.
Razor Smith being one of them.
It's a real beautiful thing to see, man, because you see these guys that, people always joke that you never quit this game, you just take a break, and I do think that that is honestly true, to be honest, because even the guys who've gone for so long, this brings it back in, and it's just like they were a kid again, and they get that joy, and it's cool to see that, man. Honestly, it's I was like 12 years old when this format was actually a thing, so to come back and kind of get all those memories of it actually happening, and all those memories, and then to still play with some of the same guys that I played with back then. Now we're all men and stuff, and it's really cool, man. And honestly, like I said, for me personally, I feel like I've fallen back in love with Yu-Gi-Oh! For the Edison format, and who knows, at one point I might get, burnt out again and need to take a break again, but for now I'm just going to ride this high, so to speak, and I would say, man, if you've been out of Yu-Gi-Oh! For a long time, I would say, hey, if you need a hobby, you need something to kind of get you out and get you in a good community. Because like I said, I think the Edison community is so, a really good community. There's very little toxicity. Obviously, if you're online, no matter what community you're in, there's toxicity because people online,
they turn into keyboard masters.
Exactly. It's a lot easier to be toxic when you're just in front of a screen as opposed to real people. But I would say, overwhelmingly online, and even more so in person. You go to an in-person tournament like this, no one is acting like an asshole, for lack of a better term. Everyone's cool. It's really frowned upon, I think, to act like a dick in this community. I think that's one thing I do really think it is. Like, we have a very good non-toxic player base, and I think that makes it better, because no one wants their community to be, especially a hobby, you don't want a hobby community to be toxic. This is supposed to be fun, this is supposed to be something we do on the side because we get enjoyment out of it, and you just don't want a bunch of guys with sand in their ass.
Exactly. Edison's the best. Edison's the best format, but I think we can start winding things down.
Yeah, no,
Welcome to the Rick Novak
I'm
show.
sorry, guys. I'm a complete yapper, man, and you know, I think I'm just kind of.
I think it was really good, man.
No, yeah, I'm sitting here,
stuff.
you know, Sunday night, a long weekend of playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and I've got thoughts, and and you know, and Mr. HT19 was kind enough to let me share them on this tripod with you all. So I hope
maybe we could do this more often.
I hope this wasn't too rambling and nonsense. I hope I don't get flamed too hard in the comments by you keyboard warriors, but I hope there was some good information here.
No, there was a lot of good stuff. And
so,
like we might have to do this more often, maybe a more specific topics, or
right.
Maybe throw in the comments, what do you want to hear us talk about, you know?
I mean, we could get Shannon, we can get a lot of good guys to talk, so I mean, if there is, you know, a demand for more just kind of combos like this, you know, I'm always down to yap, basically, especially about Edison, so.
For sure. All right, man. Great weekend.
Yeah, right. Congrats, brother.
For sure. You too.
Thank you,
This
man.
guy's the man.
And not as good as him, though. Shit. 2-0'd me in
He
top.
says that, but
he 2-0'd my
that's
ass,
the only
bro.
time I've beaten him in forever.
Bro, he 2-0'd my
in
ass. It was a
forever,
ass
man.
whooping, dude. He whooped my ass, but yeah. No,
Anyway,
I'm glad it was to him, though.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. If you're still tuned in,
Yeah, right.
And I'll catch y'all in the next one.
Peace.